Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us on episode 5 of He Said, She Said. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm Sierra. Before we get started today, I just wanted to quickly say that we fully support anyone in the LGBTQ plus community, and we absolutely plan on teaching Alaric to love and accept everyone, no matter what they choose to do for their life here on Earth, and we fully support Alaric with whatever he chooses to do with his life. We just want to make sure that he is given that choice to choose himself organically by his own feelings and not be confused with information that he may not need. With that being said, please enjoy our episode.
And this week, we're going to be talking a little bit about homeschooling.
Yep.
Well, we both have pretty different opinions on homeschooling, but ultimately at the end of this, we did come to a compromise, more specifically on the fact that we have a 10-month-old son and what we plan to do with him in the future.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say compromise, because compromise is like I'm doing partially what you want and you're doing partially what I want. I feel like that's like what a compromise would be.
Oh, so we're not compromising. I'm just doing what you want.
No, but you had your final aha moment of why you agreed, and it just happened to be something totally different than what I originally kept saying. And saying as why we should do this.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to start by kind of just explaining school for me. Okay, so obviously I went to public school. Mm-hmm. I went to school in Chesapeake, Virginia.
You were popular.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that I wasn't popular, but I definitely got along with everybody. I was on the football team, was on the soccer team for a little bit. I had a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of how many students were in our school. Gosh, I can't even remember. Maybe...
It was a bigger school.
Yeah, I would probably say at least 700.
Holy moly.
in the school, like between grades. We'll say high school, You don't
remember how many kids you graduated with?
No, I actually don't.
Oh. I mean, I don't really remember my exact number either, but...
Yeah. But yeah, so I felt like I had a really good experience in public school. Like I said, I was pretty much friends with, just about everybody. I played sports all through school. As soon as I could in middle school, I played all the way through high school.
How'd you feel about the education, though? I mean, at the time, you probably really didn't care about it, but now looking back, how would you feel?
Honestly, looking back, maybe I would have applied myself more.
Yeah. But do you think the opportunity was there as far as your education?
For the majority of it, yes. Obviously, there's a whole lot of things, now looking back, I wish was included in public school. Mm-hmm. I mean, just learning about their finances for one. I wish that was definitely something talked about more. And maybe more so trade and career type classes.
Yeah, like a trade school type thing and not pushing college.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to say that there weren't negatives. Maybe they're not negatives for me, but I was definitely easy to cheat in public school. Yeah. I mean, and not even saying that I cheated off other people, but I know I helped a lot of people. If you're listening, hey.
You're welcome.
And then, so funny thing, when I was younger, it's cussing was always bad. Well, school, that's where I learned all the cuss words and everything.
Doesn't matter with Alaric, he's going to hear it from us, so.
And now, growing up, I feel like cussing's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be.
Yeah, there's time and a place.
Yeah.
Just don't do it in church.
Right. What else? School, I mean, you're always going to have the drugs and alcohol, but, if you are smart, obviously it's stay away and, just raise your children to be smart.
Yeah, be smart about it.
But yeah, I mean, I had friends who, so I want to say, of course, this is still high school, but came in plastered.
Really?
And we had a computer class. He threw up all over
you're
the
gonna have to tell me who that
and
was
everything.
later.
Yeah, I will. But yes, and, obviously I think the biggest thing is being in school, 8 hours a day?
Yeah, super long.
Yeah, it's kind of crappy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crappy. You can't be, I don't know,
It's a lot. It's a lot on kids.
Yeah. But like I say, other than that, my overall take on public school, I know I really just talked about high school, but all the way through. I liked it. I enjoyed it. For the most part, I had a very good, positive experience.
Yeah. And I think, I definitely did too. But that was also, you graduated in 2010?
Yeah. So I graduated 2010.
Yeah. And I graduated in 2012. So I think honestly, and I feel like a lot of people will say this anyways, like my oldest brother, he's 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
And I think he'd probably say, well, we got through when it was like finally, that was the last year that everything was normal and like things were good. But I think like that was probably the last year that things were normal. 2012 when I graduated. Okay. Because then like looking at like I have cousins that are in high school right now. And I just like look at, I don't know, it just seems so different and things are just very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way that they're doing things and the TikTok and like... So I think, because we had social media, but we weren't on it 24/7. Like, we still had the flip phones, some of us.
MySpace.
And then, we had, my best friend, she had an iPhone, but it wasn't weird for you to, like, not have, because I didn't even have texting on my phone until I was
I remember
sophomore.
it was still paper message at that point. Oh man, mom and dad got pissed.
I'm sure. But that's why we didn't even have it. And like our phones didn't connect to the internet. And if it did, you're like clicking off like stop. But
oh man.
So I just think things are so different now and kids are forced to grow up. Like your childhood's kind of taken away, and not just high school, but even like, because we live right next to an elementary school right now. And so if I don't leave the house at 7 o'clock on the dot, I'm stuck behind the traffic.
Yeah, there we go with Texas traffic again.
Yep. So literally 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm not joking. If I leave it like 7:02, I have to go through the school traffic. So like I said, we live right by the elementary school, and some of the things that these kids are wearing, like these little girls, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I would never. And it's just, I don't get why people are trying to just grow their kids up so fast. And I get it may not be the parents, but like the kids are more exposed to it. And, you see your friends dressing a certain way, and, you see it on TV and TikTok, and it's like all these kids, even on like Disney Channel, they're acting like adults.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just society and how everything's portrayed now. And obviously, the kids see that and they're like, well, there we go. I want to look like that.
Yep.
But, beyond all that, just going back to your experience, how was public school for you?
So public school, I thought it was fine. So part of the problem with me was in elementary is when I realized, and like my parents and everybody realized, like I had a little bit of a learning curve. And because even it was like first grade, they called it rainbow reading. And I was in the rainbow group because I was actually reading really well. But then it was discovered that I wasn't comprehending what I was reading. So by like second grade and on, I really wasn't able to have recess because I was
that sucks.
Yeah. And because I was in a reading group, like a reading comprehension group. And we went to this room. It was like a closet, and there was only like a few of us, and everyone knew who you were because you had the reading comprehension bag.
Oh.
Super embarrassing. And we didn't get recess, like I said. So they all knew that too. And it was brought to my parents' attention at parent-teacher conferences. Like, I couldn't focus. I was talkative. I couldn't comprehend what I was reading, and I just wasn't grasping math in any, like, no matter how hard I tried. My parents never did anything about it. And once I got to middle school, I was put in remedial math, which was, again, super embarrassing because everyone knew about it. You were in, like, the slow kids math class, and I'm pretty sure there was only like 10 of us in that math class. But the problem was because I was always like a year behind.
Right.
So 6th grade, I was doing 5th grade, on and on. By the time I got to 8th grade, right before high school, I was still doing 7th grade math. And I was doing when all my other friends were doing pre-algebra in 8th grade. Well, I never got to take that. And then by the time I was a freshman, they didn't offer pre-algebra because you had to be doing algebra.
Oh.
So I was thrown into algebra and I failed it twice.
Yeah, that's
so
kind of crappy.
Yeah. So they started out, I was like behind each year. And then by the time I was going into high school, they're like, oh, too bad. Sorry. So I think they kind of set me up for failure unintentionally.
Yeah.
And then also I tried so hard and to focus, I couldn't do it. And I would be so exhausted after school. I had the worst headaches all the time. And then finally, after, I think I was like 20, after working, my manager came to me, and I was working at dental office at this point, and she was like, hey, you're kind of messing up on things, and like you need to fix some stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, and you really just don't focus very well. I'm like, I know, I'm trying, you know. And she's like, I think you might have ADHD. She's like, you're my son's age, he has ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, but off the record, because I can't really say that to you, you know. And so I went and got tested. It was a 4-hour test. It was the longest test ever. Yeah. And of course, I was off the charts as far as a child level and an adult level.
Yeah.
So I was put on Adderall, and I'm telling you, the shift was amazing. And I think because I was also, like, I also struggled with anxiety in high school. And I think it was because I was so worried about trying to pass my classes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you got the test anxiety.
Yeah.
You just got, you know, you're trying to...
And just like fit into, and I think that was probably the worst part. Like everyone knew that, because I was in a small school, so everyone knew if you failed a class, and then everyone knew if you were in like a remedial class, or eventually I did have some different tests, like depending on the class. Instead of like a fill in the blank, I would have 3 multiple choice. So, and sometimes like a teacher could come read it to me if I needed to.
Yeah.
So that was super embarrassing, but helpful. I mean, heck, you even see that now, like, because I'm taking classes right now. And
I don't think it's as bad.
It's not as bad. I mean, I'm on Adderall.
I mean, even when you don't take it. But I mean, speaking of that, just I think it's the fact that we were in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it was like right before, like, you know, the big ADD, ADHD type thing where that was becoming more streamlined, per se. You know, before that, I don't really feel like that was a popular diagnosis. And
no, not really.
So that kind of probably held you back, and that's kind of crappy. And then when you said that, you know, everybody knew you were in the remedial or the rainbow reading thing. Yep. So my school, I don't know if I had a lisp or something. I pronounced some of my words a little funky. I think I was in, I don't know, 3rd, 4th grade.
Yeah.
And so I was just like randomly pulled out of class, and I would go to like a little speech class, like a 20-minute speech class or whatever with like 3 or 4 other kids. And it's like nobody knew.
Nobody knew?
Yeah, it's, you know, you just were pulled out of class. Somebody came and got you and still had your recess. Oh, yeah. So,
and see, that was probably the worst thing for me because I didn't have recess to like get all my energy out. And I think with a lot of girls, it is a lot harder to diagnose ADHD and ADD because girls are just naturally more chatty and, you know, more squirmy sometimes. And, you know, that was like the big thing is, oh, she's just talkative. And yeah, there was just so many signs. I'm like, come on, like, you couldn't have helped me out. But the opportunity of education could have been better in the public school. And I think not making it so obvious that you're repeating a class.
That one for sure.
Yeah, that was humiliating, to be honest. I mean, it was so bad. And now I mean, honestly, if they could have just had me take it online, because that's what I eventually did. I graduated as a junior. Like,
So you went from being behind to being ahead, huh?
Yeah, because I started taking online courses.
Yeah.
It was this program that they recently started. It was mostly for like kids that were going to drop out or kids that were like in trouble or pregnant women or whatever. Pregnant girls, sorry.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just, I just wanted to get out of school. I was over it. It was a lot for me to handle. So I started, I think it was called Finish Strong or Apex, something like that. Apex program and Finish Strong. But so I did half my junior year in like normal classes. And then the second half of my junior year, I did all of my junior the remaining and then all of my senior year classes. But it was nice because I completely like saved my GPA because the way that the tests and everything was like, and it was a work at your own pace. And I would go to the classroom. It was like a computer lab, aging ourselves there. But so it was a work at your own pace and you could write down all of the notes you needed and then you would take the test. Well, then you would just write down the test questions. You would go review it at the teacher's desk and then you go take the test again. It was the exact same test.
It's pretty convenient.
Yeah. And you got 3 chances to take it.
Oh, wow.
And honestly, I feel like I learned so much better that way. And it wasn't
Did you learn though, or
no,
was it
I really
memorization?
Did. No, it was like I actually learned what I was doing because I was able to like take it. I had to write it all down first off and then review it myself and then go take it again. So I think that helped a lot. But I was happy. And everyone told me like, oh, you're going to regret not going to your senior year. I do not. I'm 27 years old, almost 28, and almost, oh crap, I am 10 years out of high school, and I do not regret it whatsoever. Yeah. But I did have a really good experience as far as like FFA and 4-H, and I had some really good friends. I wasn't a big friend person, like I didn't have a lot, but I had really good the ones that I was friends with, like we had a really good tight relationship, and we were all in ag class together. Agriculture, if anybody didn't know what that means.
Yeah, we didn't have that at my school.
Yeah, so I was in welding. We did ag.
We didn't have that either.
Yeah, we did ag mechanics. We had animal science that counted as a science course, and so yeah.
Good old Indiana, huh?
Yep, ag was big for me and my friends and stuff, but so that stuff was like really good, and I'm glad we had that opportunity. But just coming out, looking at what's going on today, I think private school or homeschool is kind of our only option for Alaric at this point.
When I had always heard of homeschool, like I always thought just
homeschool kids are weird.
Yeah, you know, kind of weird.
And you know what? I grew up in that, you know, thought process too. But now that's really not the case, because honestly, even in Texas, it's so common. Like,
homeschool?
Hell yeah.
I mean, I
have tons of patients that come in and like, yeah, we're homeschooled. They're totally normal, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just homeschool. I say never interested in it at the time, and I saw it more negative than positive.
But there's a lot more now too. I think that they have opportunities as far as sports, meetup groups. There's a ton of stuff.
See, well, now that's like one of my biggest worries when we talk about homeschool is like, you know, Alaric may not get the chance to play sports, you know, at the school level.
No, he will, because they'll have homeschool connections, and then, I mean,
so what is it? He plays on the homeschool team, like like the prison team from Longest Yard. But
I mean, worst case, he could always do rec leagues. Those were fine.
But those aren't competing at that same level.
Right. But he'll have more time if he seriously gets serious with a sport, like you with football and soccer, and he really wants to like go to college and play that sport. He will have the opportunity and the time we can focus and get him a trainer if we want.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that like my parents did for me. Like I went to kicking combines all the time.
And I guarantee there were some homeschooled kids in there.
I don't think so, but
but like we'll be able to put in the time for him if that's something that he's serious about and wants to do it further.
Yeah.
Then he'll have, because here in Texas, it's only 4 hours a day required.
Yeah, so I thought that was something that's kind of really interesting.
And do you know how well that would have helped me? That would have helped me so much.
If you were only at school 4 hours a day?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really interesting, you know, because school, right, they're really training you, teaching you.
To just work an 8-hour shift and not question it? Yeah.
You know,
that is so long.
They're teaching you to be an employee.
I mean, truly. Can you seriously, let's say this out loud. Okay, so we all like wrap our head around it. Your child going into kindergarten, 6 years old,
give or take,
5 or 6 years old, they're there for 8 hours. Are you kidding me?
I don't think kindergarten for me anyways.
I was all day kindergarten.
We had AM and PM kindergarten.
Oh, okay. Well, we were all day kindergarten. And especially first grade, you're what? Again, 6 or 7 at that point. Yeah. Then you're going all day.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. That is so ridiculous.
There's only so much you can retain, you know, in that time period at that young of an age.
For real. And the fact that you're learning like 7 different subjects.
Yes. 4 maybe at that age.
Well, we had art. So we would rotate art, PE, and music. And that was like your elective prereq or whatever for like elementary school. We didn't get a choice. We had to go. And then you had library days.
Interesting.
So you start out with like math in the morning, then you go to art, say. Then you come back, you do language, then you do social studies, then you go to lunch, then you do reading, then you do spelling. It's like all this stuff. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. Like I said, I don't think at least kindergarten, you know, was that bad. And, you know, I never viewed any of my time in school as really negative. But yeah, just looking back and seeing where I'm at now, it's like I definitely feel like school teaches you to be an employee.
Yeah, and the fact that, you know, kids also have mental health struggles, whether people want to recognize that or not. It doesn't always show up in full-blown anxiety attacks like it does adults, or anything like that. Like, kids can just say, and sometimes kids don't even know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're just worried about going to school that day. They don't want to go for whatever reason. That was me all the time. And I would beg, like, please, I'm sick. Like, let me stay home. And you only get 10 absences for the year.
Yeah.
And that's just not right. Like, you don't know what you're going through. I mean, I get it at some point, like, you need to go and, you know, it could be like a safety thing, like if something's going on at home.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like, you know, what if Alaric comes to us and he's just like me in school and just super anxious.
Yeah.
And literally causes him anxiety attacks. And I mean, hopefully he'll be able to come to us because we're going to be open with communication and understanding.
Right.
But I didn't have that. And so I just freaking sucked it up, and it was awful. And
yeah, that's crappy. And like, so just talking about homeschool, you know, my pros and cons, it's funny because, you know, I made a list of pros and cons for homeschool, and, you know, believe it or not, my pros of homeschool probably outweigh the cons.
Well, yeah.
But even those, it's like, I still feel like those cons are really key points. So it's like, for instance, so my biggest pro is, you know, it's a 4-hour curriculum.
Yep.
Or, you know, we don't have to go all day. And then just the fact that we control his curriculum.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there's going to be standards in place that, you know, you've got to surpass.
Yep.
But otherwise, we can teach him about anything and everything.
Yeah.
Right. We can give him all these life skills and teach him about finance and, you know, healthy finance to where he's not going to have to worry about future stuff if he does these things the right way.
Yep.
And, you know, if I was taught that at a much younger age, we wouldn't be in debt. But yeah, it's like my cons, you know, obviously I think that the school system teaches you to be a good employee, but also, you know, I'm worried that he's going to miss out on building friendships and relationships with all these other people. Like I said, you know, 700 kids in my school, give or take, I probably knew over half of them, you know, and I was friends with so much. And then just missing out on school sports. Like I said, you know, I played school sports, so obviously I hope that he does.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I'm worried that he's going to miss out on that.
And honestly, at that point, like once he gets to high school, if he really, really wants to go to public school and we've instilled the way that we, you know, the way that we want to raise him, then because that's such an influential age from now until teenage years.
Yeah.
And you kind of, by that point, he'll know like right from wrong, and so we can reevaluate that when we get to that point. But here's a perfect example of another reason why I don't feel comfortable sending him to public school at this day and age. So
is this the recent thing?
Yeah. Okay. So this week, we found out that an elementary school in our neighborhood in Texas, in Katy, Texas, that they were in elementary school. The girl came home and told her mom that she felt uncomfortable with this test she was given. And the test had questions in there that asked if the student felt comfortable with their sexuality and felt comfortable with their assigned gender. And when I came to you and I started telling you all this stuff, like all these other states that were talking about that and talking about the transgender bathrooms and gender fluid, all these different terms that are now, and I said, I don't think Alaric needs to be exposed to that at such a young age. And you said, oh, that will never happen in Texas. Well, it did.
Yeah, I mean, it's super crappy because I do remember hearing about it and thinking, I mean, Texas is Texas. They would never do that.
Right.
And sure enough, it's like our neighborhood.
Yep.
There's a school that did it. Again,
like, we'll also make sure that we tell Alaric we are going to love him no matter what. But why do they need to be talking about that at such a young age? They don't need to be solving adult problems.
Yeah. So, just to go into that further, the child was maybe a sixth grade.
I think it said sixth grade.
Sixth grade, you know, female. And she was autistic.
Yep.
So it's like, and the school supposedly sent out this email to all the parents saying, hey, we're going to be giving this test, blah, 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 if you want to opt out. Well, apparently none of the parents actually got it.
Not one single parent.
Yeah. So...
because they all finally came forward once this mom came forward and they're like, yeah, we didn't get that email. Nobody got the email.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, you know, there may be an age where it is okay to talk about it. And maybe even the child will come forward to themselves.
That's what I was getting ready to say. How about they can put up, like, maybe in high school, like, put up a bulletin that says, like, if you need to come talk to somebody about this, please come talk to us about it. But I don't think it should be worked into the curriculum, and that's the problem.
No, I don't think it should be worked into the curriculum. But, and I mean, even high school, like, I think that even younger children do know.
Yeah, but that's such a big decision to make.
It is. I'm not going to say that it's not, but I mean, even younger children do know.
If they need to talk about it, if they need to talk about it, they can go talk about it. Yeah. But I don't think it should be taught to them.
No.
Because then what if you're a boy that likes girls and then you're being shown all this stuff and saying, well, that's acceptable. Well, it is. But what if the boy that likes girls is like, well, why don't I like boys? Is there something wrong with me? They shouldn't be. I don't remember like growing up and it was just, I don't know. I just never really thought like I had the option, I guess, which is perfectly fine. They can have the option, but I don't think it should be, because if it really is a natural selection, then that's how it should be.
And it, like you said, you should have the option. Everything should be optional.
Yes.
It should not be forced by any means. And it seems like it is.
Yes, because it's in the curriculum at this point.
Yeah.
And should they be taught about sex ed? Yes. Should it be that sometimes each, one sex likes the same sex? Sure. But it shouldn't go any further than that.
No.
As like, yeah.
No, there's no need. I mean, and when you get
into all these new terms that are coming out, like, that's confusing. Heck, I don't know what some of these terms mean. How are you going to expect a kid to understand what some of these things mean?
I mean, all the new terms, I think you should learn about them, yes, once you get a little bit older.
Yeah.
There should be an age, but that is, the modern day now. So I think you need to know those terms.
I agree, because if you're going to be in the normal workforce and, you're going to be in society, it's going to come up. But I don't think it should be at a 6th grade or elementary school level. Hey, what are you? Like, what do you identify as? Because some kids are like, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like getting to that age, because kids at that age, they don't know, they don't understand that there's a difference between boy and girl. But it's just a little weird. And then I think another big thing is the bathrooms, right?
Yeah, that's so not cool, because especially now that there's that, what is it, gender fluid, that some days they identify as a boy, some days they identify as a girl, or neither one. And it's like they get to pick if that's what they say. They're gender fluid, I think.
Yeah.
And I just don't want a boy or a girl deciding every other day what they want to be that day, because they're gonna go and
and that's where it kind of definitely crosses the line. Like Alaric, he's a boy.
Yep.
Okay. No matter what he chooses his sexuality to be, I expect him to always use the men's restroom.
Yeah.
Thank God I have a boy, because if I had a girl and she was in school and boys were allowed to use the bathroom with them, I would lose my mind.
Yes. Yeah, that's so scary to think about.
Exactly.
And
I feel like they kind of bypass the safety of the students at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really unsafe. And that's got to make girls feel uncomfortable, and boys too. I can't imagine, like, can a girl coming in your bathroom, like, you'd be like, hey, what are you doing?
Taking a dump.
Yeah. You guys have more stalls than us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to make it very clear. We will fully support Alaric with whatever he chooses.
Yeah.
When that time comes. And I don't think it's the school's job to decide when that time is for him.
Yeah.
I think it should be our job. And honestly, I do think it's a natural thing. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Because when I was a kid, like, I remember, like, oh, he's cute, little, in elementary school, like, I had, like, the quote boyfriend. And so if Alaric ever came and said, well, I think he's cute, well, okay, might be one of his choices. And we're not going to tell him he's wrong for that. But I don't think the school should tell him that he has that option, because I do think it's just a natural thing. Yeah, and I like how you use the terms, the school is kind of creating adult problems for the children. Yeah. And, they shouldn't need that. And so obviously you're heavy on the homeschool side, and me not so much. But you did like the fact that they only require 4 hours of school, and we can teach him other things, like outside of school. that we wouldn't necessarily have time for. And, you know, when we want to go on trips, guess what? We can go whenever we want because his school will come with us.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about going, you know, in the summer.
Yeah. And, you know, we're not going to be tied down to a school schedule because we'll have it. And, you know, it doesn't have to be 4 hours in the morning or 4 hours in the afternoon. So if he's waking up with a stomach bug and he just wants to chill out until 10 o'clock, then he can. It's not going to be a late to school note and all that. So, and we can teach him, you know, how to live life and not just be in school.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So, I mean, like I say, I was definitely against homeschooling when it was first brought up, but I think you've done a really good job of opening me up to the idea of it and more so accepting the fact that it's probably going to be better and more beneficial.
Yeah. But like we said, until he gets maybe even to high school, we can ask, hey, do you want to go to because at that point you're figuring out like who you are naturally, not forced, and you are understanding right from wrong. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not gonna say I was an angel.
No, me either.
If anyone knew me in high school, I mean, I definitely, sorry, family, I definitely drank. We were safe about it. Like we never, my brother. Oh well, we were safe about it. But I mean, we're in high school. You know, it happens, and
yeah, it's gonna happen. And honestly, it's like, you know,
as long as you're being safe.
Well, yeah, and so you know, if we're talking about that, you know, there was this family, and it's like the parents, you know, they were okay with, hey, you know, you can come over and whatnot, and if you drink at the house, that's fine. You just got to stay here.
Yep, you can't leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Supervised drinking per se, but
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I was an angel, but we'll make sure that he understands what is a safe environment and let him choose things naturally. Yeah. And thankfully, it is more accepted now. So if he, you know, being gay or any other term. So thankfully that is more accepted now, but I think he definitely needs to be the one to pick it. And I don't feel like we need to explain it because like I said, I definitely think it comes naturally. And
you hope, you know, if it arises, if the question arises for him, the curiosity arises that he come and ask.
Yeah. And I mean, I hope that he will always feel comfortable with coming and telling us, like no matter how old he is. I don't want him to be, you know, so scared to tell us, but because we'll be there and accept it no matter what. He's our child, you know, how could you not? But he needs to be the one to pick and figure it out.
Yeah. So we're probably going to homeschool Alaric.
Yeah, probably. Not probably. We're doing it.
Okay. So we're going to homeschool Alaric.
At least until high school.
I mean, maybe, I don't know, give or take. You know, if he really thinks he wants to go to a public school, that's something that all three of us can sit down and talk about. Yeah. But I actually think that homeschooling is going to be a positive thing
you
for
saw
him.
that video of Elon Musk and you liked
Musk,
that.
He's kind of created a school system, though. Yeah. It was kind of a neat, it's like an online thing. Yeah, I guess it's homeschool because it's all online. Yeah. But that was kind of neat what he created.
So you really liked that Elon Musk program that you saw.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty neat.
That was really cool.
You know, he created this online program, and I guess it's something that we could see in the future. Yeah. You know,
and that's another thing that we're hoping that Alaric gets to see through us is that you don't have to go to college to be successful, which I think was kind of like instilled in us.
Yes, I do think it was.
Not even from necessarily like our parents, but just school and society. Yeah. But I want him to see like, oh, my parents are successable. You know, yes, they both went to college, but they're actually doing other things that they didn't go to college for. And same with my brothers. They didn't go to college and they're just successful as us. Yeah. And, you know, I started like I guess it's like a trade college. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, you don't have to go to college right out of high school. You can do whatever you want and then figure it out.
Yeah. I kind of wish that I didn't go to college, or if I did, I wish I would have accepted, you know, one of the scholarships I was offered to play football.
But that's another thing. It's such a hard decision for kids at such a young age. I mean, 18, you think you're old, but you're not. And That's such a hard decision to be pounded into your head. Like, you've got to choose your school.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what you want to go to school for. And then I cannot tell you, I'm pretty sure all of my friends, maybe except like one, has changed their profession and their major. And I mean, it's just so hard to pick at that age, and you have no clue what you want to do.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's going to be it for this episode. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, ACS Entertainment LLC. Our Facebook page is ACS Entertainment. Try to leave a comment and let us know what you want to hear.
We've had a few direct messages, which we really appreciate, so thank you.
Yeah, one of our next episodes, we're going to be talking about money and finances. I tell you what, I think we both view them very differently.
Oh, yeah, and we're still not really on even like a compromise at this point.
No, that'll be a good episode, so make sure you tune in for that one. Like I said, it'll be coming up shortly, the next 1 or 2 episodes here, hopefully. Like I said, other than that, you can listen to us now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or just click the link in our bio on our Instagram, right?
And please follow us too. We would love that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of the platforms.
Yep. So thanks for joining us on He Said, She Said.